All right, it is early, 5 in the morning, and I'm already running late. It's going to be 2 hours and 41 minutes. I've been in the video editing industry for quite a few years now, and something that I've seen time and time again, too many editors rely way too much on plugins, on effects, on transitions, on animations, and all these different things, and they don't really focus on what actually moves the needle forward. And that's exactly why today I'm gonna be going over 7 main things that absolutely ruin your videos as an editor. But I'm not gonna be doing this alone. I'm currently driving 3 hours to meet one of the best editors that I know, and his name is Tom. Most of you might know Tom as Tom's Projects on YouTube. He has over 60,000 subscribers, and he's extremely creative and extremely talented. Today we're gonna be able to finally meet up in person, and I'm really excited. By the way, this video is brought to you by Motion VFX, but more on that later. You have a ton of experience, especially like in animating and editing. You've been around for a while, you've been editing for years. What do you find is a pretty big mistake that a lot of editors tend to make?
Well, I think design is a big thing. I think as an editor, you don't really think about design when you start out. You just think about the techniques or the nitty gritty things. You don't really think about what it looks like on its own. That's been a big game changer for me. And also what I see a lot with inexperienced editors.
Bro, these flies are crazy.
They know. What I notice when someone is really inexperienced, they don't focus on the design that much and just on like the animation skills, for example. The easy way to fix that is by looking at design pages, even though maybe you're not a designer, getting more interested into the design pages. So like Dribbble or Behance and Pinterest, and like saving
for inspiration.
For inspiration, and looking what looks great and why it looks great.
Right. So one thing that I'm genuinely curious about, I talk a lot about storytelling with editing. How do you incorporate storytelling with like being animation focused or like motion graphic focused? Do you make sure you create motion graphics and animations that are motivated by the story?
That's a really good question. So I think you're really dependent on the script as an animator or editor, because with some words, like I was working on this project and it had the words push and pull, and then it's really easy to make an animation on that is a bit more storytelling driven, that like looks great with the words, that grabs the attention a bit better. Whereas if it's a really boring sentence, sometimes it's really difficult to make something nice out of that. However, what I always think is like, it's always better to show, don't tell with animation. Basically showing it without just exactly telling it. That's just not, this is a really good animation. So for example, with time, if someone speaks about time, instead of putting the word time in or a time code, you use an hourglass or something.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
That. Like just something a bit more like visually appealing.
Now, another mistake that I see a ton of editors make, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is overusing way too many effects, presets, transitions, and that kind of thing.
They just slap all the plugins on it as possible, just to make it like look better, but it makes it look worse.
And the problem is, I find that it actually like gives off a super cheesy, almost like stock footage type feel.
Well, the funny thing is like sometimes I watch videos and they're so good, and they just have like just some text like pop up, no animation on the text, just like cutting, and it makes it so easy. And I'm like, sometimes it doesn't have to be that hard. Like it's just 100%. Like just some cool text 100%. In the screen, and that's it.
On the topic of using effects, you can absolutely use effects in videos, but it has to be used in a smart way. You have to make sure you use it in a polished way so it doesn't come off super cheesy and janky like a lot of editors make it. And that's exactly why for this video I partnered with Motion VFX. They're the gold standard for editing plugins in my opinion. They bring the best, most polished plugins to the market. In fact, like 8 years ago when I started editing, one of the very first plugins I ever bought was from Motion VFX. So this is kind of like dream come true to be working with them. Oh look, that guy is like flexing over here. He has his feathers out and everything, dude. Like he's like putting on a full show. Dude, this is a pretty cool shot right here. Another huge mistake I always find editors making is they don't understand pacing and flow to the ideal level that we would ideally understand it as editors. I find that a lot of editors, I see them either cutting way too fast, cutting way too slow, and having no like narrative structure in videos, and they don't really know how to change the pacing and flow. I find so many people coming to me and talking to me saying they have a super difficult time understanding how to ebb and flow through a video, how to change pacing if you have a fast start, how to slow it down effectively. And there's a lot of different things that go into that, from changing music, using sound effects to your advantage, and other techniques that you could use, especially when you focus on it from a storytelling narrative perspective. Typically you could dial in pacing and flow much better. In fact, if you guys have ever wondered how I'm able to get a really cool, interesting, unique color grade on my videos, if you guys have ever wondered how I do any text animations or any presets I use, it's all from Motion VFX. If you guys want to check out their library, you could click the first link in the description below. Genuinely, they have helped me project myself to become an editor where I've been able to work with some of the top creators in the space. And I think that I've been able to showcase my work in a super high quality way because of Motion VFX. And I'm so happy to be able to have them now supporting me and behind me. So with that being said, thank you so much, Motion VFX, for sponsoring this video. So that being said, Tom, is there anything else for you specifically that you think you would add to that tip of like understanding or dialing in pacing and flow a bit better for most editors?
From an animation perspective, what I see a lot is like they put the animation in the screen and then put it in way too long. So you're just looking at a boring screen where nothing is really happening. Or they make it too short. They make like a really cool animation and you can't even see what's happening on the screen. And then just like dragging it out is almost always like a really good solution. I always think like you spend so much time on making a cool looking scene, then why would you let it go to waste?
The views here are absolutely insane. We're getting some sick B-roll. Dude, oh my gosh, look at this shot.
Teasing me with my pride.
I'm just curious, dude. I know like a lot of editors were kind of like freaking out over the fact that you were talking with Alex Hormozi about editing specifically. Was there any like gems that you took away?
Going to the gym more. The main takeaway I had, which like was lingering through my mind like the couple days after, was him talking about that a lot of editors, they just focus on the edit and not really on getting the results. So they don't check the retention graph, they don't check the video performs well in terms of click-through rate, or maybe if it generates a few leads, they don't really care about that, which I get, because when you're starting out, you don't even know about this, so you don't even think about this. But it's so important for clients or for people or for entrepreneurs that him speaking about this, I was like, yeah, man, there was really like a shift also for me that I should
results focused as an editor,
exactly,
right? Yeah. With YouTube, a lot of times like you could have good CTR, you could have good impressions, but you also need good retention for that video to like go to the masses. Like your video will do well, but once you get good retention, it'll really blow up. And being able to see the retention graphs as an editor, being able to make small adjustments to increase that retention, because a lot of editors ask, how can you actually bring results, right? How can you bring tangible results? That's exactly how. And I think that you can start to charge more as an editor when you do that, because it's super cool. You got to talk to like the man himself about editing. All right, so the next editing mistake that I see a ton is when it comes to sound effects.
Most of the times it's either too loud or it's too soft, basically. Like you don't hear it anyway.
I find that a lot of people, there'll be like two groups of people. Either they won't use sound effects. You can add so much life or depth to a video by simply doing, I feel like even with animations, or they'll do what you said where it's just way too aggressive.
I think the mistake a lot of people make is like they just drag their sound effects in, they don't level it, and then if you don't, then most sound effects are too loud. And I also feel like it's always better to
lower the dBs.
Too quiet than too loud, basically.
Yeah, more subtle,
exactly,
right? All right, so the next biggest mistake I see editors make all the time is they just don't focus on like human psychology. When I say that, I mean like how to trigger actual emotion with their edits. Like they focus so much on the technical, they don't even focus on like triggering emotion.
No, I don't agree at all. No, yeah, good point. No, I do really believe that people don't really think of like, basically they don't think about the person that is watching the edit, right? I think that's the most important, to really like think of like, who's the person that's watching it, and just think as like a single person, like a persona, and then think like, how would they experience this edit?
Yeah.
I think that's a easy way to just tackle that.
Dude, it's been super fun. It was awesome being able to collab with you and reaching out to me, coming out here. I hope everyone else watching enjoyed it. So
I enjoyed it, man.
Cool, dude. I'll see you next time.
Bye.